Lee Do-hyun is the kind of actor who doesn't chase the spotlight. He pulls it toward him. He started as the young version in other people's stories, and then quietly became the reason audiences stayed until the end. One scene, one stare, one line delivered like it hurts, and suddenly you realize this isn't a supporting actor trying to be noticed. This is a lead actor learning how to own the room without asking permission, and that's why his story is addictive. Because Lee Do-hyun's rise wasn't built on one lucky hit. It was built on a pattern. He picks roles that look small on paper, then turns them into emotional weapons. Hotel del Luna, 18. Again, Youth of May, The Glory, Sweet Home, and the jump into film with Exuma. He became that actor people trust when a story needs heart. And then, at the peak of momentum, he disappeared into military service, only to return in May 2025, instantly triggering the next wave of curiosity. What does a comeback look like when the industry has been waiting for you? This video is a 6-part case file. His roots and mindset, the climb through breakout roles, the craft behind his emotional acting, the fame pressure, and the rumors that come with it, the military pause, and the final question: is Lee Do-hyun the next safe romantic lead? Or the next actor who turns pain into legacy? There are actors who become famous because they're loud. Lee Do-hyun became famous because he's precise. He doesn't overplay emotion. He doesn't beg the camera to notice him. His acting style is quieter, controlled, but it hits harder because it feels like something real happening behind the eyes. And that's why audiences trust him. He makes pain look ordinary, the way real pain is. People often describe him as the guy who cries well. But that's an understatement. What Lee Do-hyun actually does is more surgical. He knows how to build emotion in layers. He'll hold a pause too long, soften a line, break eye contact at exactly the wrong time, small choices that turn a scene into a wound. That precision explains his rise. Early on, he appeared in roles that were technically supporting, often playing younger versions of key characters. Instead of treating those roles as warm-ups, he treated them like auditions that the whole country could see. In Hotel del Luna, for example, his character arc left a strong impression despite limited screen time, proof that he could create impact without being the main lead. Then he took the lead and proved he could carry a story. 18, again, was the turning point for many viewers. He had to play a teenage body with an adult soul inside, balancing comedy, regret, and tenderness without making it cartoonish. That's a hard acting task, and it revealed his range. But what makes him especially addictive to follow is his role selection rhythm. He doesn't stay in one lane. He moves between romance, melodrama, thriller, horror, building credibility across genres so the audience stops seeing him as a type and starts seeing him as a tool directors can use for heavy emotion. And behind all of it is a core personality trait that defines his brand: restraint. He doesn't overexpose himself publicly. He lets the work build the image, and in the age of constant content, that restraint makes him feel more serious, almost old school. So the real question isn't, why is Lee Do-hyun popular? It's, what shaped a person who can carry so much emotion on screen without losing himself off screen? To answer that, we have to rewind to his roots, early life, training, and the path that turned a normal kid into one of Korea's most trusted young actors. Before Korea knew him as Lee Do-hyun, he was Im Dong-hyun, a kid growing up in Seoul, learning early that life doesn't always give you the luxury of being carefree. He was born on April 11, 1995, and one detail from his background quietly explains why his performances feel so heavy even when he barely raises his voice. He's the eldest son, and he has a younger brother with an intellectual disability. That kind of family reality doesn't make you dramatic. It makes you aware. You learn to read a room before you speak. You learn to carry responsibility like a second backpack. You learn how to stay calm even when something inside you is loud. And if you've ever wondered why Do-hyun's acting looks like a storm held behind the eyes, that's where it starts. His path into acting also wasn't the classic child star fantasy. It was the opposite. Quiet, stubborn, almost secretive. In an interview, he shared that he started attending an acting academy during high school after convincing his mother, and only told his father later, close to the college entrance exam period. That's such a telling move. It's not rebellion, it's commitment without permission. He didn't announce a dream to be applauded. He built a dream to be proven. Then came the craft. He studied film and theater at Chungong University, a place that doesn't teach you how to look good on camera. It teaches you how to control a scene, timing, breath, stillness, the invisible mechanics of emotion. And that's exactly what makes him different from many breakout actors. Do-hyun doesn't act like someone begging to be noticed. He acts like someone trained to make the audience lean forward, because the most powerful thing in a scene is often what isn't said. So when he finally started appearing on screen, he already had two rare weapons. 1, a private life that trained endurance and sensitivity. 2, and a professional foundation that trained technique. That combination is why his rise feels inevitable. He wasn't trying to become famous. He was trying to become good. And once someone like that lands in the right roles with pain, regret, tenderness, the spotlight doesn't find him. It locks onto him. Lee Do-hyun didn't arrive as a leading man. He arrived as a replacement heart. The actor-directors cast when they need the audience to feel something fast. His official screen debut came in Prison Playbook, 2017. Not a huge spotlight role, but the kind of set where you learn the most important skill in modern K-drama, how to be real in a world that moves quickly. Then he started collecting what I call silent auditions. He played roles that were small on paper, but dangerous if you're talented. Because when you only have a few scenes, you don't get a second chance. You either leave an imprint, or you vanish. In Hotel del Luna, 2019, he gained major attention even in a supporting role, because his presence felt like a bruise. Quiet, lingering, impossible to ignore once you notice it. And then he got the role that proved he could carry weight, not just steal moments. 18. Again, 2020, made him a different kind of name. It's a deceptively hard premise, a teenage body but an adult soul, meaning he had to act like someone older without looking like he's acting. Comedy without being cute, regret without being melodramatic, tenderness without being corny. That drama became the moment audiences stopped asking, "Who is he?" and started saying, "He's the one." But here's what makes his climb feel intentional instead of lucky. He didn't stay in one lane. He moved into projects that demanded emotional pain on a bigger scale. Youth of May, 2021, for example, pushed him into heavier historical melodrama territory, the kind that forces an actor to hold grief and love in the same breath. Then came the global blast zone, Netflix-era visibility. With Sweet Home, 2020-2024, and especially The Glory, 2022-2023, Lee Do-hyun stepped into international conversation. Suddenly, he wasn't only being watched by K-drama fans. He was being watched by the world, meaning every performance choice got louder, and every weakness, real or imagined, would be amplified. And right when he reached that peak, right when he had the momentum every actor dreams about, he hit the pause button Korean male celebrities can't avoid: military service. He enlisted on August 14, 2023, served in the Republic of Korea Air Force Band, and was discharged on May 13, 2025. That's not just a timeline detail, that's a cliffhanger, because the industry doesn't wait. While you're gone, new faces rise, trends shift, and the internet moves its attention somewhere else. So when you return, you face the coldest question fame can ask: did they miss you, or did they replace you? Lee Do-hyun's next chapter is about that question, about what happens when the scene stealer comes back to claim the full lead era, while the public starts watching not just his acting, but his private life, his rumors, his pressure points. There's a point where an actor stops being judged only by performance. He starts being judged by projection. Lee Do-hyun hit that point right as his career became globally visible. Because once a face is internationally recognizable, the public doesn't just consume your characters, they start trying to own your real life. And in Korea, the fastest way for the internet to rewrite an actor's narrative is romance. In April 2023, multiple outlets reported that Lee Do-hyun and actress Lim Ji-yeon, his co-star from The Glory, were dating, and their agencies confirmed the relationship. Soompi.com. To normal people, that's just two adults dating. To celebrity culture, it becomes a storyline that competes with your work. Here's why that matters for his image. Lee Do-hyun's brand is emotion. He's the guy viewers trust with heartbreak roles, healing roles, yearning roles. And when your brand is emotion, the audience often treats you like you owe them a certain type of availability. Some fans celebrate the romance like a fairy tale. Others act betrayed because they were attached not to the person, but to the fantasy of the person. This is the hidden danger of being too loved. Love can flip into entitlement. Then add the military factor. Lee Do-hyun enlisted in August 2023 and was discharged in May 2025. Soompi.com. When a star enlists at a peak, the public either becomes more loyal or moves on. So the return becomes a pressure cooker, and any personal headline, dating, breakup rumors, relationship updates, gets magnified because people are hungry for any new narrative. But Lee Do-hyun's storm layer isn't only romance, it's also expectation. After 18. Again, Youth of May and The Glory, the public now expects him to deliver emotional devastation on command. That sounds like praise, but it's also a box. Once you're labeled the actor who cries beautifully, the world keeps asking you to bleed again, until you risk repeating yourself. So the pressure becomes double. Don't lose the emotional signature people love. Don't get trapped by the same emotional signature. And the way he's survived so far is exactly what made his rise. Restraint. He doesn't fight the internet every day. He doesn't over-explain himself. He stays quiet and lets projects do the speaking. That's why his career feels steady rather than chaotic, even when the public noise increases. But the real test is what happens after the military return, because comeback eras are unforgiving. One weak project, and the internet rewrites you as overhyped. One great project, and you solidify your position as a generational lead. This is where the question gets sharp. Is Lee Do-hyun about to enter the safest era? Romantic lead, stable fame, predictable roles? Or is he about to do the harder thing? Choose risk, choose darker characters, and turn the post-military comeback into a legacy play. The most dangerous moment in a rising actor's career isn't the first breakout, it's the return. Because the return answers one brutal question. Were you a trend, or were you inevitable? Lee Do-hyun's timeline sets up a rare kind of comeback arc. He built momentum through roles that proved range. 18 again, Youth of May, The Glory. Then enlisted in 2023 and returned in May 2025, right when the global streaming era is still hungry for Korean leads with real emotional power. And what makes him different from many post-military returns is this. He doesn't rely on hype. He relies on craft. His acting style, controlled, layered, precise, ages well. It isn't built on trends. It's built on technique. That's why directors keep trusting him with roles that require silence, grief, tenderness, and moral conflict. The hard stuff that can't be faked with charisma. So if you're asking what his legacy could become, here's the most compelling answer. Lee Do-hyun could be the next actor who defines an era of Korean storytelling, where male leads aren't just handsome and heroic, but psychologically real, where romance isn't the only currency, where vulnerability isn't weakness, it's power, and the romance headlines, they'll pass. Because in the long run, the public forgets rumors, the industry remembers results. If his next choices after discharge lean into risk, film projects, darker characters, roles that force transformation, then the scene stealer label disappears forever. He becomes what his career has been pointing toward the whole time, A leading man who doesn't demand attention, but makes attention stay. If you had to choose one word for Lee Do-hyun's future, stability or risk, which one would you bet on?